Morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this event today with Chatham House on collaboration between UK and Japanese universities. We have an esteemed panel here to talk to you who I'll introduce in a second, but just to firstly say this event is happening on the record and is indeed being recorded, just for your awareness. I have the pleasure of introducing our panel, Professor Dame Janet Beer from the University of Liverpool and also the International Lead for Universities UK, and Professor Nagata, who is the President of the Japanese Association of National Universities. My name is Stephanie Harris, I shouldn't forget to tell you that, and I'm the Acting Assistant Director for Policy and Global Engagement at Universities UK International, and have the absolute pleasure of chairing this session. Before we hand over to our panel to give us their thoughts on collaboration between Japan and UK universities, I'd like to first hand over to Michael Houlihan, who's the Director of Japan House, to give us some opening remarks for this session today. Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everybody. So welcome to the final session in the current series of UK-Japan Dialogue webinars organised by Chatham House in partnership with Japan House London. For anyone who doesn't know about Japan House, it's located on Kensington High Street in central London. It's arranged across 3 floors and presents visitors with the opportunity to discover, learn about, and engage with Japan. Offers a range of very varied and authentic cultural experiences such as exhibitions, events, workshops, a library, a shop, travel advice, and gastronomy, and seeks to build really a bridge of deeper understanding and create an enduring legacy of relationships between the UK and Japan based upon cultural understanding. As we see today, Japan House is also a forum for the exchange of ideas, new developments, and conversations between the 2 nations across a wide range of important topics. In the past, through the Chatham House events, these have covered the ageing society, trade, climate change, security, COVID, Africa, and cultural diplomacy. In addition to our physical presence here in London, over the last 2 years, we've accelerated the creation of what is best described as Japan House Online. This is a digital presence that replicates a virtual version of the physical site. We've created live events and activities ranging across manga and craft workshops, live sake brewery visits through to 3D virtual exhibition tours, masterclasses in kitchen skills, and the development of an online shop. So please check out our website for all of these events. Our latest exhibition, the uniquely titled Windowology, Architectural Views from Japan, examines how windows influence our perspectives on the environment, contemporary urban living, craftsmanship, design, architecture, and print literature. From the 21st of May, our new exhibition will be Symbiosis, Living Island, an exhibition that explores the extraordinary living art scheme, Inujima Art House project, that has been transforming both the landscape and the lives of the inhabitants of Inujima Island in the Seto Inland Sea since 2010. The exhibition shines the spotlight on the interaction between nature and architecture, each informing the other to connect the people of the island to both architecture and art through a constantly evolving environment, hence the idea of symbiosis. Obviously today we're exploring the potential for collaboration between Japanese and UK universities. Whilst not a university, over the past 4 years, Japan House has developed a number of partnerships and initiatives with UK and Japanese institutions. These have included the University of Tokyo, working with Yamanaka Sensei on prototyping in Tokyo. We've worked with the Architectural Association, who created a theme of playground for non-humans as part of our Architecture for Dogs travelling exhibition. We've also worked with the University of East Anglia, with Waseda University, in particular the University Theatre Museum, the Royal College of Art, also the Kyoto Design Lab, which is part of the Kyoto Institute of Technology, on a series of events exploring textile innovation. And we've also worked with Oxford postgraduate course on soft power. From the Japan House perspective, bearing in mind that we are an expression of Japan's cultural diplomacy, we are hearing more and more about knowledge diplomacy. And the Renke network, which we'll hear more about, is an interesting example of this, highlighting the role that international higher education, research, and innovation can play in building and strengthening international relations. Another example in the soft power realm includes the ESRC-funded Digital Society Network Plus initiative and the creation of digital influence and intelligence networks aimed at providing a more nuanced understanding of how our international relationship with social media technologies, as well as political influence in social media, will influence the way in which cultural diplomacy moves forward in the future. So I think there's a lot for everybody today in the session. So Stephanie, I'll hand back to you to introduce the session. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Michael. It's now my pleasure to hand over to our first speaker to give their opening remarks, and to Dr. Nagata, who is the president of the Japanese Association of National Universities, or JANU. So Professor Nagata, over to you to make your opening remarks.
So thank you very much for your kind setting this time. Actually, this is evening in Japan, and good morning for the people in England, UK. And today I would like to tell you about some prospect, well, some idea for the prospect for the university collaboration between Japan and UK. Okay. And this is the brief outline of myself. I have been working on viruses, actually, including the coronavirus. And I have worked on a very, very basic research field. Right now, I am president of the University of Tsukuba, and also I am the president of Japan Association of National Universities. And this University of Tsukuba has the very specific characteristics as the Japanese university. We are oldest higher education institute in Japan. And actually the first, our Preseda school was founded in 1872, which is just 5 years after Edo era, so samurai days. And we have the Nobel laureate as well as the gold medalist in Olympic and Paralympic Games. And this slide is just a summarize of the collaboration between University of Tsukuba and the UK universities. If you have questions, I will tell you details, but this is just a summary of it, so that we are very intimate with the 8 universities, including Liverpool University, Oxford Brookes, and so on. And this slide again summarizes the outline of JANU, the Japan Association of National Universities. National University, JANU, is consisting of the 86 National University of Japan, and all the presidents of the universities are members. And this JANU supports a number of university activity showing this slide. And the JANU has their tight history with the UUK. And I saw Dr. Janet Bear in 2018 in Tokyo when she visited with her colleague to the Tokyo. And at the time, Dr. Yamagiwa was the president. I was the vice president of JANU. And since then, we have the number of activity with the UUK. So now I would like to give you that real numbers, some numbers about UK-Japan collaborations. This slide shows you that the international student numbers in terms of the student to come to Japan. At the UK is ranked the 5th among the Western countries. So US probably give us the largest number, and France, Russia, Germany. And this slide give you that number, the students to go the other countries. Again, UK is the 5th, ranked the 5th in terms of the Japanese student to go. And this slide show you that the double degree and a joint degree, including the courses taught only in English. So number of the degree program taught only in English is increasing. And also Japanese government, MEXT is that the abbreviation of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sports, and Science and Technology. And the MEXT supported Japanese university by funding in several ways. During the year 5 years from 2009 to the 2013, a so-called Global 30 program was operated. And during the year, another 10 years, from 2014 through the next year, top global university program is working. And this slide shows you that the which university is included. Type A is the a large program, big program for top global university project. And major research university is included in the Type A. Type B is collaborated with the Type A university to strengthen international activity in each university. So MEXT is very eager to that Japanese university should be internationalized. And also MEXT have given us that the number of the international project, so-called Reinventing Japan project. And this year, okay, next year actually, this program is focusing on the UK, Australia, and India. And probably you can see that the bottom of this slide, HOIP strategy was proposed in 2016. HOIP, the Free, Open Indian Pacific strategy of our government was proposed in 2016. Then 5 years later, the MEXT is making the project so as to fit into this HOIP idea. And this slide just summarizes the scholarship for foreign students. Well, I skipped that. And again, this slide, I'll give you that the some example from Nagoya University and that from the University of Tsukuba. And some program is very popular for their international students. And finally, right now, MEXT, in collaboration with the University of Tsukuba, is making their new platform where the international student as well as the Japanese student can learn the number of on-site subjects, so-called JV campus. And this includes not only Japanese university, but also a university overseas. It's will start next year, next financial year, which is starting in April 1st. And finally, I would like to focus on some about collaborative research. And this slide, the real example of the research collaboration with UK universities. Maybe you can pick up that some university names from here. And Japanese government support these collaboration. This means Japan and UK universities collaboration. JSPS is one of the funding agency to support the Japan UK collaboration. And this is real examples. Maybe you can see that the 5 or 6 examples here. And also JSPS also have that the another scheme with the Royal Society of UK. And MOU support that the Japanese and UK researchers can collaborate under some the framework. And these are real example supported by the JSPS, Royal Society Joint Research Project. And this slide, most important slide. Actually, I want to point out what we have to do, what we want to do to create innovations that drive society and develop the human resource in a diverse environment in collaboration with their UK and Japanese university. So I would like to point out 4 points. The first one is there is right now, much individual to individual collaboration between Japan and UK, but we need to increase organization to organization, so university-wide collaboration, because research and education cannot be separated. And also we need some sort of trust based on strengths, the research integrity, for example, for data free flow with the trust. So that right now, research integrity is a very important issue, but we want to share that the research integrity with their university, where actually they're in which can share that the basic freedom or democracy and so on. And another point is that we have no joint grant between Japan and the UK. So if we can make up that this joint grant, that facilitates their collaboration. And finally, right now, COVID-19 forced us to just stay home and to learn through the online contents. But I guess not only study contents, but also the climate, histories, culture, habits, characteristics, including local food, drinks, sports, music, etc. Those of which are unique to area are essential for mutual understanding and deep discussion, real thinking, etc. So that we are keenly waiting for the realistic and limited study abroad days. Left side, some shot from the Kyoto, the right side, some shot from in London. So maybe students should experience the real world. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Many thanks, Professor Nagata, for those opening remarks, and I can agree more. Can't wait until the day I can be back looking at cherry blossom in Kyoto. Thank you for that. I'll hand over now to Professor Dame Janet Beer, who is the Vice Chancellor of Liverpool University, but also the International Lead for Universities UK, to speak about the UK side of this topic. Over to you, Janet.
Right, thank you very much indeed, President. Sorry, just back one. Just leave it there for now. Thank you, President Nagata. I have to say, I looked at the content of your slides and did not credit you with the capacity to get through them in under 10 minutes. So you're an example to us all. As you've heard from Steph, I'm the Vice Chancellor of the University of Liverpool and the International Policy Lead on the Universities UK board. And it's a real honour to be here today to share some of our thoughts from the sector and the future opportunities for UK-Japan collaboration in higher education and research. I would first like to pay tribute to Professor Nagata's commitment to, as he mentioned, over a number of years, a commitment to furthering collaboration between the UK and Japan. We hugely appreciate it across all parts of the sector. And thank you, Chatham House and Japan House, for organising and hosting this webinar. So now the next one, please, Simon. So the University of Liverpool, very briefly, we are a research-led university and a member of the Russell Group. We have over 6,000 staff, as you can see, 33,000 students. That number includes a large number of international students. And we also offer University of Liverpool programs around the world through Liverpool Online. We're one of the largest providers of wholly online postgraduate degrees in Europe, but also we have a joint venture campus in Suzhou, Shanjiaotong Liverpool University, which is one of the largest Sino-foreign universities in China. Next slide, please. In terms of partners and networks in Japan from the University of Liverpool, we are a founding member of the Renki network, as you can see here. And between 2018 and 2020, University of Liverpool researchers co-authored 950 papers involving researchers from Japan. And we're working together on many global challenge areas, from living with climate change through to developing new materials and, importantly, healthy aging. As I've said, we're one of the founders of the Renki Network, and we've benefited greatly from working with a network of like-minded institutions between the UK and Japan, both in person and more recently through virtual means. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. As we emerge from the pandemic, and in line with the desire for both countries to connect and collaborate, we are very keen to leverage the benefits of this network and programs such as Turing, the new student mobility program, to increase engagement. And we want to continue to provide a highly internationalized environment and new opportunities for both students and staff. Next one, please. So just briefly to introduce Universities UK International, we are a part of Universities UK, which is the collective voice of 140 universities in England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. And there is a U and a K in the organisation. We are very much 4 nations represented here. We represent the sector and lead on global engagement, including on issues relating to international research collaboration. As you've already heard from President Nagata, I served as UUK's president, his opposite number, between 2017 and 2019. And I was hugely encouraged on that visit to Japan with Vivian Stern, the director of UK International. I was really encouraged to witness the strengthening of UK-Japan collaboration. And this has been supported in large part by our partnership with JANU. And I'll use my time this morning to emphasize the progress made, but also to discuss how universities in both Japan and the UK can further stimulate joint research. There are lots of great case studies that capture the benefits, but I'll be sharing just one later in the presentation. Next slide, please, Sam. So the past 2 years, they've presented many challenges to international education cooperation in both research and mobility. I don't think it was accidental that I said prevented, but the challenges have also been opportunities. This is a moment when the many benefits of international collaboration in scientific research are being demonstrated every day in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And so we need to build on that. We need to seize every opportunity to forge closer ties and remove barriers to collaboration at all levels of academic endeavour. The UK and Japan are countries with long-standing traditions in international cooperation, together and with others. We're partners in diplomacy, we hold strong leadership positions in the G7, and a shared commitment to science, technology, and innovation. As President Nagata has already said in his presentation, over the past year, Universities UK International has really engaged closely with the Japan Association of National Universities on a number of collaborative initiatives that are designed to support various things: building mutual understanding, facilitating high-level strategic dialogues, to advocate for investment and support, and promote mobility and exchange. And in addition to this, UKI also conducted a study that assesses the strength of UK-Japan higher education links with a focus on research and innovation. And I can share some key points from that, which I think will illustrate the many opportunities that exist now between the UK and Japan in research. So next slide, please. So why focus on UK-Japan collaboration? Some of the key points: excellence in research and innovation. HEIs in both countries are leaders in innovation, scientific discovery, and technological advance. Both countries produce high quality research at scale. Shared ambitions, we have shared ambitions. Investment in research and development is a priority for both nations. And we have very, very complementary strengths in specific research and development sectors. The quality of our collaborations are very high. The impact is also significant. And of course, there's always scope to do more. Our collaborations have grown significantly, but mobility and exchange are still relatively low. Next one, please. In terms of key findings, Japanese researchers, as you can see here, increasingly collaborating with counterparts from overseas institutions. Primary international partners, US, China, Germany, the UK, and France. So we are the 4th most popular partner. And as I've already said, the impact is high. Conversely, Japan ranks only 13th amongst the UK's international partnerships. Again, scope to do more at our end. More Japanese researchers engage in mobility and exchange programs in Japan, and Japanese staff and students are, and this is all relative, of course, relatively underrepresented in the UK. The scope for more reciprocal mobility. Engagement is limited at the minute. Next slide, please. Looking back, government-to-government cooperation on research has historically also been limited due to a lack of funding and commitment from both the UK and Japan, but the volume of collaboration has increased in recent years. As the graph illustrates, collaborative publications between researchers in Japan and the UK have grown substantially over the last decade. And while UK-Japan collaboration remains low compared with the USA, Germany, and China, the demand for more collaboration is there. And the first UK-RI JSPS joint call in 2018 received 169 applications for only 10 awards. And the statistics have been similar for other joint calls. Next one, please. So this table shows you some high-level data for UK-Japan collaboration in research. The field-weighted citation impact of over 3.5 suggests that when researchers from the UK and Japan do work together, their work is highly rated. When we collaborate, that research has a global reach. And whilst both systems clearly have the capacity to produce excellent research and provide solutions to contemporary global challenges, there's evidently scope for more collaboration. That's the dominant refrain of my speaking this morning. A broader range of partnerships would add value and enhance both the UK and Japan's science research and innovation capabilities and support individual and collective strategic priorities. And programs such as the UK International Rutherford Fund have demonstrated that funding exchanges are essential for building strong interinstitutional relationships and developing collaborations. And I think it will remain crucial to enhance and bolster exchange programs and provide more mobility opportunities for PhD, postdoc, and early career researchers from Japan and the UK. It's a long-term endeavour, but I think there is the commitment there. Next one, please. So just very briefly, student mobility in 2019-20. Over the past decade, more than 23,000 Japanese students have studied in the UK, but the pandemic, of course, has had an impact on mobility. The UK is currently in level 3 on the Japanese Ministry of Foreign Affairs Overseas Travel Safety Information. And the advice is currently to avoid all travel or cancel or postpone study plans. If we look back to 2020, the number of Tier 4 visas issued to Japanese students was down 37%, and short-term visas down about 60%. But we remain hopeful that mobility will recover as the pandemic eases. In the numbers from MEXT, I think you've already seen, by comparison, we have a modest number of UK students studying in Japan. But as I've already mentioned, the Turing Scheme, which is the UK government's new programme to provide funding for international opportunities in education and training across the world, that presents an exciting opportunity to significantly increase the number, with the UK's Department for Education reporting significant interest in Japan. Next one, please. I am going to presume upon you, colleagues, and just go a little bit over time in order to talk about RENKE, which I think you'll be interested in as an example. It's a brief case study on a research consortium, and I think it illustrates very well the mutually beneficial nature of partnerships between the UK and Japanese institutions. RENKE is the Research and Education Network for Knowledge Economy Initiatives, and I think it also has significance in Japanese, meaning collaboration. There are 12 universities in Japan and the UK. University of Liverpool is one of them. And we aim to further knowledge exchange and research collaboration between institutions and individuals. And we're also working with industry, with government and civil society to address global research challenges. So the consortium model here is designed to catalyze collaboration, to harness network and industry links, to pursue funding, to address structural challenges. And we have a steering committee which comes together to agree priorities, which are not set in stone, they change. So in the run-up to last year's COP26, there were a series of workshops on climate change where the universities worked with stakeholders in government, industry and non-profit sectors to develop innovative solutions to realize low-carbon societies. We've since launched a new series on health. We're looking at aging, medical informatics and patient safety. And each workshop we hold has offered a chance for institutions to see the bodies of research taking place across the piece and to scope collaboration. Renki also provides seed funding for new bilateral projects led by early career researchers. So it's a really capacious network. It's not just senior colleagues who are involved. Next one, please. A survey of members, which we conducted last summer, showed that Renki had increased members' understanding of the other country's higher education sector. That was up 22% for UK institutions and 11% for Japanese, and also their confidence in working with universities there. Half of the survey respondents are developing joint research agendas, with 4 joint research projects under the umbrella of Renki already underway and more planned. And members also reported that further projects have spun off as a result of the relationships formed through Renki. And the majority believe that the partnership has been successful, mutually beneficial, and has raised interest in collaboration hugely between the two countries. And the final slide, please. So with this background in mind, I think we're already making positive steps towards deepening UK-Japan cooperation and collaboration in both education and research. As President Nagata said in his presentation, it's encouraging to see growth in individual-to-individual collaboration. But what we need to prioritize, I think, going forward is supporting greater institution-to-institution relationships between Japan and the UK. This will require, however, significant reciprocal financial investment and support to strengthen and institutionalize relationships, but also, the more events of this kind held jointly between us to bring university representatives together can only, I think, enhance the dialogue. So back to you, and thank you very much indeed.
Many thanks, Janet, for those remarks. And I think both your remarks and President Nagata's remarks have got us to a good place to understand where things are in terms of UK and Japan university collaboration, and also I think to start open up the discussion about how we can do more and build on what already exists. So over the next 25 minutes or so, I hope we'll have the chance to ask questions just to explore that in a little bit more detail, and especially the last part there in terms of what more we can do and how we go about doing that. We have a couple of questions in the question and answer box, but please do keep entering those in there, otherwise you'll have to suffer through questions from me rather than the ones that you would like to hear answered, so please do enter them. But I'll start perhaps with Nathan's question in the chat, which I think is a pertinent one perhaps, and maybe Janet, I could ask you to answer this one first and then come to President Nagata. But Nathan's question is that currently there appears to be an emphasis on funding for exchange for science and technology based research. But what can be done, in your opinion, to increase the proportion of funding for arts and humanities and interdisciplinarity in terms of exchange between universities in the UK and Japan? Janet, any thoughts on that?
That's a great question, Nathan, and one very close to my heart. I think the solution is under our hands, actually, because one of the things that's really interesting to me about those Japanese students who come to study in the UK is that they are predominantly in the creative industries, predominantly. So the UK is the country of choice for creative and digital for Japanese students. The US, as you've seen in the numbers, is the first choice for many Japanese students, but they tend to be in the science and technology disciplines, but for creative, it's the UK. We should let the students lead on this. We should be working with our conservatoires, with our art schools, with the big civic universities in the UK who were the art schools in the 19th century, to really build on this with Japanese partners, so that we're supporting students in developing joint programs perhaps in this area. So a real strength in the UK can be married with an incredible level of interest from the student body. And of course, where the students lead, research and creative collaborations will follow. So I think it is a real area of opportunity for us. And I think there should be an equivalent to ranking for creative and digital. And somebody should set it up, definitely.
That's good to it.
Go ahead, President Nagata.
Right, thank you very much. Two things I would like to tell you. The first one is right now digital sciences technology is expanding, but we will see that sometime later, very difficult days where the new technology has to be implemented into the society. At that time, we need a new understanding of the law or rule of humanities. So therefore, maybe this is the time to start, these humanities or social sciences or some arts collaborating with the science and technology area. In that case, as Janet already explained that, UK-Japan collaboration is very good in the field of the science and technology. So now we put that humanity or social sciences into these science, technology, innovation area. And second thing, actually, I was the president of the US-Japan institution several years ago, where Japanese universities send PhD students into the United States government, and they learn many things in governmental behaviors, or how they decide of their policies or something like that. And so that our student is capable of learning even in the parliament or government in the United States. So that if we push more about internship-like activity, or beyond country border, that's probably very effective for the student. And they will make that the more tight collaboration between UK and Japan. So that I recommend this. I have real experiences of the USJ Japan Institute. Thank you.
Great, thank you both for those answers, really helpful.
Steph, can I just add something on that one,
course.
just picking up on President Nagata's answer? Of course, you can't tackle a subject like healthy aging without involving social scientists, but also, humanities and arts practitioners as well. So they are perhaps more capacious than they look in terms of being interdisciplinary projects, because, those colleagues are very much involved in the work that's already ongoing to address global challenges.
Thanks, Janet. Yes, a really important point. I think you both mentioned in your presentations, and indeed again in the answer to that question, the importance of student exchange between the UK and Japan, and particularly on the UK side, kind of increasing and building from a small base there. Janet, in your presentation, you mentioned the UK's new Turing scheme, but I wondered if you had any thoughts on how UK universities can help kind of promote Japan as a study destination, or as a short-term destination within the Turing scheme, and I guess any thoughts on how the Turing scheme might allow UK universities to build the number of UK students going to Japan on short-term visits.
Thanks, Steph. We are, of course, I think, as a nation, very poor at being adventurous with learning other languages. So the rest of the world puts us to shame. And there are only a handful of universities who teach Japanese in the UK. And I think that accounts for the fewer numbers that are going overseas. So I think as more and more, and this is going to sound horribly parochial, but in a sense that there's nothing that we can do about it at this stage, but the more Japanese universities that are making some programs available in English, that will be an inducement for UK students. And of course, whilst they're there, they will learn. And we can work with them to provide language tuition in preparation if there are sufficient numbers. And perhaps universities could come together, British universities could come together in consortia. And it doesn't have to be face-to-face anymore, does it? A consortia of universities could offer Japanese language teaching, or we could make it available at a national level to prepare UK students for going. The new Turing scheme will support more travel to Japan. And I think the British Council, I think Matt Knowles is on this call, are already very pleased with the prospect for increasing the numbers of students who can get the opportunity to study in Japan, because in so very many ways, we have so much in common as regards the education and research imperatives of our nations, and also support for higher education, that it's a natural partnership, and wonderfully kind of, I think, mind and experience expanding for students. I think if anything, we should be prioritizing students over, in a sense, staff mobility at the moment, because the last few years have just meant a restriction on their opportunities to learn about other cultures, to experience other cultures in a way that we need to make up to students for lost time. So we should work really hard and think creatively about how we support students to undertake study in Japan.
Thanks, Janet. And yes, it was heartening. I think Japan came up kind of 6th or 7th in terms of the most popular destinations under the first year of the Turing scheme. And as you said, perhaps COVID-19 and other things have gotten in the way of that actually being able to take place and actually happening. But over the next few years, hopefully we'll be able to build on that. President Nagata, is there anything you wanted to add from the Japanese side about how you can promote either UK student mobility to Japan, or indeed Japanese student mobility to the UK?
Yeah, I think your UK students have no problem at all in learning or living in Japan, though. And the Japanese students sometimes a little difficulty in English-speaking countries or other language-speaking countries. But in Japan, there is almost no problem at all for the student from UK. And Janet emphasized that some of the Japanese, language study in UK is less. Well, I don't think so. I have some information about that. Some very hard Japanese language training in London or some other places in England. And also, I am scientist, engineering, I understand it. So that our university is now developing the a simultaneous translator with a very short lag time. So I speak in Japanese, but you can hear in English. And you can speak in English, and I can hear in Japanese. So technology will overcome some difficulty soon. Right now, we have some machine which is developed by our university, put onto the student office, and the student came down and speak in English. Doesn't matter. With some lag, everything is translated in Japanese. Same thing. So maybe more a simultaneous translator without any time lag is possible. So that, okay, we want to know more about contents.
That is one of the beauties of virtual conferencing, right? Yeah.
Right.
So you can,
exactly.
as you say, it's instant, and it's so much less clunky than the wait for the translator to then do the work. The simultaneous is brilliant. Yeah. So right. I think collaborations can be enhanced in that way. You're absolutely right.
Right.
Thank you both. And there's another question in the chat from Eleanor Yamaguchi, and it's on a similar topic, which is she's asking about the extent to which we think UK universities are interested in connecting with smaller prefectural universities in Japan. And I think Eleanor points out that perhaps maybe one barrier there is one that you've just been discussing in terms of classes being available in English for UK students to take. I guess, would you kind of agree that that is the main barrier there, or do you think there might be other barriers that exist for UK universities in terms of connecting with smaller universities in Japan, and how could we go about overcoming those barriers that exist? Perhaps President Nagata, I could start with you on that one, just to think about how we can make sure that UK universities are collaborating with all universities in Japan, not just the big ones.
Yeah, I agree, partly anyway. So that a small and university present in the local area has the less information about these things. And so that at least, but the national universities, even a little small or located in a local area, can collaborate through the main office of Japan, JANU. And so that we have the system or supporting these small university or local universities. But still, there are a number of the small local universities in Japan based on the private university. And that's a little problem in terms of the getting and providing the information about education research. And so maybe we have the one system, so-called JACI, consisting of the public, national, and private university members. Maybe so that through this system, maybe we share of the more informations. At least JANU is always open for providing the information to any kind of the universities, irrespective of the national, public, private universities. Okay.
Many thanks, President Nagata. Janet, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, as you heard at the beginning of my talk this morning, there are 140 members in Universities UK, and we are of every shape and size. We have our own share of very much smaller institutions. One of the things we're talking about as a sector at the moment in order to support our colleagues in Ukrainian universities is some kind of twinning arrangement. As towns are twinned, we might think about twinning universities of a similar size and also, subject mix. It shouldn't be too hard for JANU and Universities UUKI to help institutions find a kind of comparator and build a relationship between the two on a kind of, what have we got in common? What could we do together to improve, the offer for both staff and students? I think that would be an interesting approach to being much more inclusive. And, these things, especially if we can begin virtually, these things will either, gather momentum, or for lack of interest, they will fail, because we know one thing about our colleagues in universities, that they don't respond well to top-down initiatives. It's only when academic and academic work together on cognate areas, or areas where they can see a kind of exciting future set of developments, that partnership is really effective. So perhaps we can do something to facilitate knowledge amongst our colleagues of institutions in the other country that are similar, in order for them then to think, well, what could be gained here? Who could I work with? Why would this be interesting for me and for my students?
Thanks, both, and completely agree. I think one of the challenges that we often find within our membership is, as you said, Janet, which is very wide on the UK side, is the ability of smaller institutions to enter into partnerships, as they have less institutional resource to think about international partnerships. And so us thinking about how we can support that and making it easy and building those kind of academic to academic links is probably a really useful thing to be doing. There's another question in the Q&A here from Alan, who asks, what should the role of universities be in helping to address and influence government level priorities? I think you both mentioned that increased bilateral research funding for the UK and Japan would kind of be a key ask on both sides. So perhaps I could ask you Alan's question, but additionally, you know, what more could we be doing to kind of encourage our governments to find funding together to lead and drive forward research in this area? Janet, perhaps I could start with you.
Yeah, I think I can interpret this question a little more broadly, Steph, in the sense that there will always be government imperatives as regards what their priorities are for research. And of course, we can all get behind, you know, national, international research areas like the global challenges, the strategic development goals, where it's really important that we work across boundaries, that we work together, you know, in a really seamless way in order to address things that are world problems. But, you know, government is also necessarily very concerned about, for instance, security issues. And we need to take this very seriously. Universities need to work in a very mature way, hand in hand with government, to make sure that these things are taken account of, but not so that they skew the research agenda. Because, you know, President Nagata and I know very well, we've probably got the scars to show for it, that relationships between universities in different countries take years to build, years. And they take a lot of interest and a lot of commitment from a lot of people. You know, something may start off as a simple researcher to researcher relationship, and then it may snowball involving a group and then other disciplines and interdisciplinarity. And then, I mean, the University of Liverpool has a really well-developed and extensive multidisciplinary relationship with the University of Georgia in Athens. This has taken decades. So yeah, one thing that we have to be very careful about is that governments tend to come and go, but universities are doing the slow burn. And so we can't, you know, in a sense, we can't say, no, we're not going to, you know, deny or negate, you know, 40 years of partnership in this area, but we will be careful as we work with certain partners. Now, this doesn't necessarily apply to Japan, although of course there will be areas that the government won't be interested in backing us working between the two. But there will be areas where we can work perfectly harmoniously and with government backing, and, you know, and yes, please, government funding to further those, you know, further the work on global challenges.
Yeah, I agree that actually through these type of intimate discussion, we try to find out of the issues common to the both countries and interested in by the universities, UK and Japanese universities. And for example, right now, digital governability is a very important issue. How we, secure system, how can we make that the secure system and the digital communication? These are a big issue for not only Japanese government, but also the UK government too. And also the digital scientists and technologists working in the university are very much interested in these issues. So therefore, I suggest that we try find out of the issues common for the national, most national, affairs. And to this end, maybe we need more, tight discussion frequently, and then we try to find out. Then ask government. Well, UK university is collaborating with our university, so government must support us, or something like this. This is just outline. Okay.
Thanks both for those expert and considered opinions on that one, as you said, Janet, and both been doing this for a long time, so some really helpful insight there. We're coming to the end of our hour together, so I think I'll probably leave the questions there and apologise to those in the chat that I haven't quite gotten to. I hope that you'll agree it's been a real pleasure to hear about and to listen to how UK and Japanese higher education research collaboration can be furthered, and some really helpful insight from Professor Dame Janet Beer and President Nagata. So thank you both very much for your time and joining us today. Thank you also to Michael and Japan House for the introductory remarks at the beginning of this webinar, and indeed to Chatham House for chairing it. And thank you to all of you for joining us. So I'll leave it there and speak to you again soon, I hope.